Think like a politician. Imagine the world without politicians and politics. That world will either be chaotic. Imagine there were no political parties. How will political competitive ideas shape how societies are governed? Can political figures teach professional services executives, consultants, and leaders about winning hearts and minds? Absolutely, says Dominic Holder, adjunct professor of strategy and entrepreneurship at London Business School. As 17th century French playwright and actor Molière once said, it is hard to dislike politics without also disliking people. That may be true, but it doesn't stop people from dismissing today's politicians as ignorant, selfish, greedy, or corrupt. For many, politics is a dirty word, but Dominic Holder believes politicians possess skills that make them indispensable. They build powerful coalitions, quickly assess and adapt to any environment, and know how to negotiate and bargain with others. Attributes that all professional services executives and consultants and leaders should master. When teaching on the professional services, the next generation leadership program, Holder shows executives how finding their inner politicians can help them retain existing and win new clients. Imagine you are a partner in a law or accountancy firm. You develop a fantastic proposal for a current client that ticks all those procurement boxes and offers outstanding value for money, but then they dump you anyway. Every professional services person experiences these, and it seems unfair. So, what goes wrong? I will argue that you misread the organization. Companies like to present themselves as well oiled machines, but are often more like jungles. When entering a jungle like business with many different beasts, professional services experts have to establish how far people will go to better themselves or their own fiefdoms, or wherever they are more interested in working for the business well. We must think of organizations as coalitions, interest groups, and individuals with different values, beliefs, and perceptions. In companies where things are complex and uncertain, with complicated structures or responsibilities that are not clear, you will find that decisions get made difficultly or shrewdly and not on rational grounds alone. Within those coalitions, you need to work out people's agendas and aspirations. You can do that by talking to colleagues in your own firm who might already be connected to a range of people at the client's company. You also do it by speaking to former colleagues who now work for the client, or by getting the office gossip when meeting people from the client's organization. With that information, you can work out who has the power and how they stand in relation to you and your organization or firm. Are they fans or potential blockers? That's the question. Number one, office politics. Professional services experts should emulate politicians who can identify people in various roles and establish how much power they wield. The information is key to developing relationships with the coalitions needed to win new or retain existing clients. Businesses driven by politics can be challenging to read. That's right. Identify the critical decision maker may be straightforward, but knowing who in the company influences them can be very tricky. Does the decision maker take guidance from their staff? If so, you need to find common ground with those influencers. Who are these people and how much do they matter? What kind of power do they have? Who are your firm's allies? You need to be aware of who you are dealing with and the coalition you should work with long before submitting an actual proposal. If you do that, the proposal is much more likely to fly. As any politician will tell you, dealing with people is about intense personal curiosity and not taking things personally. As a professional services expert, you aren't going into an organization to get respect, liking, or anything else. Not worrying about what people think gives you a great deal of freedom. It makes it much easier to read who is in the room because you are thinking about them rather than yourself. You need a certain degree of humility. If this is about you going into a firm and projecting yourself, you will miss the subtle signals that tell you much about how the business works. There is something around curiosity, listening, and exploring skills that most successful politicians possess. Number two, friend of who? While forging relationships takes time, working out who holds power in the organization can be relatively quick and straightforward. You may be able to assess that from a meeting with a client. You can sometimes sense the powerful people in the room because those with less power tend to be more rational or persuasive. Sometimes the more powerful people are not liked or they aren't talked about in a more careful and neutral way. It is often the person who speaks less in a meeting who is the most powerful. The biggest challenge for professional services executives is to put their expertise to one side when building networks within the client organization. The lawyers and accountants at the top firms have invested heavily in university degrees, postgraduate qualifications, and professional training to become experts in their respective fields. Their natural instinct is to use their expertise to dazzle their client when they should be trying to connect with them on a personal level. Professional services experts don't like looking silly. When they get into the jungle, they feel naked and have to leave behind the things that make them feel comfortable, like a PowerPoint deck. Politicians are very good at having conversations on many levels, which is something that lawyers and accountants should strive for when it comes to dealing with their clients. The message to consultants, advisors, lawyers, and accountants is clear. If you want to win respect or repeat or new business, don't worry about being famous. Think and act like a politician. Number three, when people let their favorable leaders off the hook. Why does this matter? Firstly, because once you have imagined how something could have been confirmed, you hold the person uttering the statement to laxer ethical standards, to reduce the moral condemnation you receive for telling a falsehood. You don't need to convince your supporters that what you said was actually true. You just need to invite them to imagine that it could have been true. Imagining how the lie could have been actual increases this political polarization. Number four, how much does an untruth matter? Lying is probably one of the most common wrong acts that we carry out. Most people will condemn lying except when there is a good reason for it. Lying is a form of deception, but Not all forms of deception are lies. Lying is giving some information while believing it to be untruth, intending to deceive by doing so. A lie has three essential features. A lie communicates some information. The liar intends to deceive or mislead. The liar believes that what they are saying is not true. There are some features that people think are part of lying but aren't actually necessary. A lie does not have to give falsehood, false information. A lie does not have to be told with a bad or malicious intention. White lies are an example of lies that told with a good intention. This definition says that what makes a lie is that the liar intends to deceive or at least to mislead the person they are lying to. Number 5, imagination has its dark side. We know that people attend more to evidence that supports what they want to believe than the evidence that doesn't. It is called confirmation bias. When public figures are caught saying something false, their supporters set a pretty low moral standard for what it takes to let the person tells a lie off the hook. We should be wary of our ability to imagine whatever we want. Imagination is a powerful human capacity. It allows us to do all sorts of great things, but it also suggests the dark side of imagining how falsehoods could have been confirmed. It allows us to hold the people we admire to lower moral standards than the people who don't. It also suggests people are pretty easy to manipulate. This phenomenon applies equally in business. Leaders often make demonstrably false statements. The research suggests that if we try to imagine how these statements could have been true, we are more likely to excuse the leaders, but only if we like their lies. Number 6, the sale and the delivery. Awake, arise, and vote. Well, elections are a story of 2 chapters. The sale and the delivery. The power lies in the power of the votes of those whom the masses have vested their power by giving their vote. The selling phase is all about shaping reality through vision and willpower in the delivery. It is about agility in dancing to the tune that fact plays. Vote for a transformative leader that empowers the growth of a nation, not a figurehead that thrives on socioeconomic instability. So voters choose to be consumers and pick the manifesto package that suits their needs and values, or be investors and pick the team they think will best deal with the unpredictability of the future. Number 7, looking right for the part. The election is not about followers picking a leader, though sometimes they will like it to be that way, especially if they win the popularity battle. In earlier times, personality was glimpsed less nakedly than we now see it on the modern media. The TV election debates influence voter preferences not because of congruency of argument or character, but because of imagery and metaphors. The swing of impressions that coalesces in people's minds from non-verbal behaviors convey perceived dominance, likability, and trustworthiness. We have more women who will be leaders in the frame than ever before, and women are perceived as more trustworthy. Not every person in politics is in it for money, power, and status. Some are genuinely fighting for the people and their communities. I say, find those folks, then fight with and for them. Number 8, you can't control the fight. Like the great generals of history, politicians like to choose the terrain on which they will fight the battle. But once the battle starts, as Tolstoy depicted in War and Peace, we are taken on a journey of often violent uncertainty. As the smoke clears, we mainly see commentators arguing about what caused the victories and the defeats. The idea that one group or another can determine the issues on which an election is fought is a mighty popular delusion. However, factions do get lucky if attention like a flock of starlings happens to settle on their tree where they have an advantage. If your vote doesn't change your life or your situation, then you need to change your vote. Change the party or the person you voted for. Vote for a different person or different party. Number 9, people identify with a tribe. That's right. Elections occur in a many layered social space with networks of interest representing how voters see themselves concerning the parties. But these interests are often quite vague attributions about identity. Some voters inherit their political loyalty from their parents, but these rarely last beyond one generation. The boundaries demarcating tribes are a mix of regional, social class, wealth, values, and ideology. Many voters are unswayed by character or issues, but by simple affirm, this is my group and I will remain loyal to it. Demography, economic development, and the changing complexion of parties shifts these boundaries, especially now. We are in a time of flux where traditional loyalties are being tested and transgressed. Vote for a transformative leader that empowers the growth of a nation, not a figurehead that thrives on socioeconomic instabilities. Number 10, becoming a leader is not the same as being a leader. Leaders are limited by their vision rather than by their abilities. Different processes are involved, and many a business has come unstuck through failing to realize this. Not all number twos transition into great number ones. A chief reason is a failure to realize how radically different the two roles are, and the need for a broader, more outward embracing perspective than, say, a CFO or a COO is used to. It is also unfortunate that the processes that select leaders in business are too often retrospective, past performance, rather than prospective, what they might do differently. Good people see the good and bring out the best in other people. Real change is difficult at the beginning, but gorgeous at the end. Change begins the moment you get the courage and step outside your comfort zone. Change begins at the end of your comfort zone. Number 11, leaders are rarely appointed on merit. In democracy, our most important tool is to vote. But our power tool is when we have the power to influence others on who to vote for. We like to think that the processes that lead to elevation to the C-suite or the boardroom are based upon rational appraisal or individuals' capacity and fitness to lead. Still, the scientific instrumentation that might help verify this psychometric assessment IQ test is generally disliked at the level seldom used by headhunters. Why? Because it suits everyone to keep the smooth process around the edges so that misfitting can be fudged, ensure that the imagery is correct, and a convincing sell to those who have to approve the appointment. These parties usually represent diverse constituencies. The best way to satisfy them is to have someone who looks like a leader and sounds like a leader. Then everyone can pat themselves on the back for finding consensus around their familiar, superficial good taste. Number 12, every leader must decide what their challenges. Beware of those who criticize you when you deserve some praise for achievement, for it is they who secretly desire to be worshipped. Business leaders are often hired based on two extremes: the continuity ticket or the transformation ticket. Leaders have to define the challenge they face for themselves, not on others say so, regardless of how grand and important these others may be. Listen to the people who hired you to think you should do, but do not let them define your situation. They have their own perceptions and interests. The wise and effective leader comes to her own appraisal based not on conviction like so many politicians, but by a ruthless, open-minded, unflinching gaze at what is and what might be. This is what is called the law of the situation. Number 13, good leaders recognize and overcome tribalism. Responsibility and party loyalty is another quality of a responsible politician in a democratic state. A transparent politician is nearer to their people and meeting them to understand their problems. Only fake politicians are seen by voters when an election is immediate or change parties as footballs change clubs. Every parent is responsible for teaching their children the principles of morals, culture, truth, and sincerity to be self-responsible. So politicians need to integrate their citizens with the importance of political responsibility and democratic values. A politician leads by example and knows their minimum responsibilities as an elected representative. A politician comes to politics to work for their constituents and not to work against them. She is the back and core of the people and ready to listen to everybody. All of these build a strong foundation for a dynamic society that creates solutions for any challenges and finally develop strategies and political systems that will help implement those solutions automatically. She is quick to give a hand to their fellow beings. A reliable politician should be very loyal and committed to their party, which shares their vision and goals. The value of loyalty simply depends on trust. A citizen should belong to a party with the most brilliant, skillful, patriotic, and dynamic people with common goals and aspirations. Teamwork is best and common. Politics is to unite and reach consensus and not to divide or create enmity among people. Power is only a product of collective action. And finally, to become a great politician or statesperson, you have to use your talents, skills, experiences, honesty, integrity, challenges, and constraints with the positive effect we can have in touching other humans. A politician must leave their constituency better than before elected. Greatness is within reach of a politician who consistently does things they ought to be doing. She learns from mistakes and criticisms. A lousy politician will see that all the good is on their side and that all the evil lies with their opponent. Or just because someone does not agree with him or her does not mean that all their ideas and solutions are wrong. Good politicians show respect to the views and experiences of others. Nobody has a monopoly of wisdom. Those who aspire to be great politicians should have the ability to find and analyze problems in their constituency and find the best solutions for all these problems. There is no problem in this world without solutions. A good politician knows that simply giving consistent effort in the mirror tasks of services, social reforms, kindness, and sacrifice in day-to-day life leads to true greatness. That's right. Now, people want to belong. And the large part of leadership that is to do with building culture rightly intends to forge a solid shared identity in the organization and also in their constituencies. That collective sense is a powerful source of advantage, clearly visible in the best family businesses. But unlike in politics, it doesn't typically define itself in opposition to other groups. That is where tribalism goes so sour and works against the values of the organization. You see it in the conflict between divisions, functional groups, and even between peers. It might seem harmless when directed towards competitors, but this kind of tribalism ultimately eats the soul. It sees markets and competition as zero-sum game and fails to see how the best firms grow their markets. The values that enhance the relationship between business, economy, and society are cooperation, innovation, and learning. Success means commanding the narrative in politics, in society, and in business. Doing so honestly and convincingly tells how we got here, the unvarnished reality of where we are right now. The more this is based on humility about the past, open-eyed perspectives about the present, and the moral courage about the future, the better served we will be all by all our leaders. Signing off, Dr. Masasekani, Meshack, Khosa, the Thinking Futurist. Thank you.